Hey guys, it's Nolan and Jason here with Plumbing SEO Webmasters.
Howdy.
We've got a good one today. We're going to talk about 5 Plumber SEO changes for 2022 and how to respond. So I'm going to go over what we're going to say. All right, sorry, I will tell you about
this
that.
This is a new format in that we're actually trying to format.
We're trying to format, right? I think I've been told to format. So here's the format for today. Number 1, quality content only, no fake blogs. Number 2, reviews, reputation, and GMB changes, even more important. Number 3 will be auto change title tags and why H1s become more vital. What the heading is at the top of the page. Number 4, hyper changes in the algorithm, stay the course, do good, and signal. And number 5, just really a sum up, would be logic and consistency win. And we'll explain all this and why. So yeah, my business coach, who's a great guy, which I lack the tact to talk to people like this, but he told me, hey, when you guys make videos, you might want to tell them what you're going to talk about and then tell them, Nolan, and then recap it. But he positioned it as though it was you guys and not me. And I know it's me because I ramble on, and then people are like, what the hell was he talking about? And then sometimes I think, what the hell was I talking about?
We have actually done these where we go off on a point and we're like, what the hell were we talking about?
What was I talking about?
How do we get off on that?
My dad does it, and he actually comes all the way around and full circles it. Like, oh.
We never get back.
Yeah, so. Sometimes we don't get back. But. Okay, so let's talk about some of these changes for 2022. Quality content. I want to be really specific because this is maddening to me because people call up. I'll have people call. This is really a common call. It's like, hey, I'm looking for better results, but I don't want a lot of content. That'll be the gist of the call. I want better results, and well, I like the site I have now. Look at it. It's sparse and clean. I said, are you trying to sell me that your horrible website is good? I said, are you trying to somehow call the main company for this and then sell me on why it's good?
And then convince us that we don't know what we're doing.
Why would you call and talk to me like that? And like I had a guy like this, and I don't think I sold him. And I'm like, at the point that someone does that in a call, it doesn't really matter.
Like the first call.
Yeah, right out the gate. This was one done by a software company, 1-page, horrific site.
Okay, yeah, you told me about that.
Typed out font, logo, you know. And I'm like, no, this is an awful site. This site's horrible. I said, now, typically I don't bash third-party stuff, but since you're kind of accosting me and speaking so directly about it, yes, this is a horrible website, and you're completely wrong for your methodology on it, for why you're thinking about it is completely illogical. And I said, it's also illogical to call an expert and to try to learn
and argue with
me instead of listen. So you need content for each of the categories. So let's give some. If you do tankless water heaters or slab leaks or clogs or pipe relining or camera scoping for pipes for clogs, if you don't have the pages of the content, Google doesn't know that you perform the service.
Right.
So
you have to tell them what you do because they're not going to guess. They
guess that you're a plumber, that you do plumbing repairs, and you're a plumbing company. And beyond that, I don't know. They wouldn't even, I don't think, guess. Well, let me rephrase it. I'm almost positive they wouldn't guess that you do a clog.
They might guess that you do a clog if nobody in your market says they do a clog.
That's a good point.
Then they might make the leap.
That's a good point.
And it's just like you're saying, you need a page for each of these services. And you might think, and we've had potential clients or current clients try to argue, can we consolidate all of these service pages into one big page just listing all the services?
Right.
I said, okay, we can do that. But if your competitor then has a page for every service, they're going to be on top of you in results.
Right.
Period.
Yeah. So they might. Could you bullet point it? You could and I'm not exaggerating here. You could in 2003.
Yeah.
So it's 2022. So almost 20 years later, no, you can't put a bullet point up and get as much recognition. Not only that, the map won't show up as well because the user experience won't be as good.
Right.
So you could tell Google that you perform a service, but you don't have anything to show to them.
Yeah.
Right. And so someone that has a great website with content about the service that gets worked on regularly is going to have a chance to show up. Now, what I mean by no fake, so beyond the categories, so you have a category. I don't know that we'd go down. So here'd be too much. So the plumber is in, let's use Dallas since we're in Fort Worth here. So let's use Dallas. Plumber's in Dallas, and does tankless water heaters, clogs, and 20 other things as primary categories, water sewer lines, and all this stuff. And then they want to do all this and have this correlate with Dallas, which is going to be kind of inherent throughout the regular content.
Right.
But they're also in Plano, Rockwall, Mesquite, Garland, Frisco, McKinney, Allen, and it goes on.
All the cities around Dallas. For
North
those who
Dallas,
in this area. Yeah.
Highland Park, University Park, and so they've got and they service these 20 cities, and then they want all the same categories with all the same 20 cities. So they go from 20 pages of services to 400 pages of services with a city interchange. That's spam.
Right.
And so you could
10 years ago would have worked great.
You could have the city pages, probably stopped around 7 years ago, 8 years ago. So you could have the city pages up of 15 cities, but you can't have all those corresponding services in there as well. And the blog content, I'm going to argue, is not to be done anymore for the most part.
Yeah.
We still do it for a few clients because those clients received it before, and we know that if we stop doing it,
they'll get upset.
Which is completely unfounded and ignorant towards
because they regard it as you're doing less work. It's like, no, we're doing different work.
We do different work,
but the blogs are visible to them, and so they like it. I had a client like that call me recently, and he wanted it. We had once upon a time we were doing a blog every month, and then we stretched it out to a blog every other month. And a client called recently and said, "I want 2 blogs a week."
Right.
And I was like, "Absolutely not."
You're gonna hurt.
And he got mad, and I'm like, "Listen, I'm doing you a favor," and I had to go through and explain everything.
Did he get him onto data pens, or did he?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I did.
Okay.
He was already trained on it, but he hadn't been using it much. And part of the reason we created data pens was to replace the bad content of blogging with good content.
Right.
Because that's what data pens gives you.
You know, we'll segue. I'll segue. We always did these podcasts before, these videos, and we would not necessarily, the audience was always someone who might become a client of the Webmasters. But I don't mind talking to an agency at this point in time. I used to get upset about it and because we've got so many changes in other businesses going now that I really don't mind talking to the agency. It doesn't bother me anymore. And part of that is because there's a profit potential there.
Yeah.
On the relationship, which I have a hard time with the new freeness of knowledge, and then trying to find the roundabout money out of that somehow. Yeah. Just to distribute content freely. But a lot of this is very helpful on when you talk to a client, like how we talk to a client, what we do with that client. And it's not like it's a sales routine. It's legitimately the thing that ought to be done.
Right.
If anybody's an agency listening to this, you don't want to mess with the blogging anyway, much less we're seeing them not get cached or copied at this point in time.
Right.
So they'll spider it and say, "Oh, wow, top 3 reasons to do this. No, thank you. Best plumber in Dallas. Okay, good try."
The 10 animals that can go longest without water.
Yeah.
Remember that
That
one?
was actually a pretty good blog, though.
Yeah. And here's the thing.
But that's
it
the
got
point,
all
it
this
was real.
traffic.
Yeah.
But that traffic didn't lead to traffic on the rest of that client's site, and it didn't lead to sales.
It overall helped a little bit. So we've had a lot of Jason brought up an early on client that was water purification, water treatment.
Yeah.
Somebody wrote a blog trying to be different.
Yeah.
And for a long time, we do think that extra traffic helped. I think that came a point in time where it didn't.
Today, it absolutely
The
would.
animals that could live the longest without water. And it basically, we think that like school children that were in 5th grade to, middle school.
Yeah, based on the geoanalytics. It got like ridiculous amounts of traffic for a
3,000
blog
clicks per
on a little local business.
And but one thing interesting about it is that it showed up because no one had really gone through it much. The guy was an old website and had some page authority.
Yeah.
And so it beat like the BBC. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It was like the BBC was underneath
This little local in the
Yeah.
Dallas area water
it-
treatment dude had this top page for all this stuff.
I think benefit of stuff like that, he used an outlier that was one of the best semi-relevant topics that was not trash blogging
Right.
that we had ever done. So when writers write this stuff, though, they just can't make it good enough to make it valuable
Most
content.
of the time.
Most of the
Yeah.
time. If you're a plumber and going to write your own, you might be able to do it, but your brain will have a tendency to go towards spam.
Yeah.
Because the guy that demanded 2 blogs a week from Jason was really just going off of old school spammy tactics and then throwing it back at someone else's jacked up philosophy on their antiquated thoughts about SEO.
He thought need more blogging, need more content. Well,
Yeah.
Okay. What the next question you have to ask is, what is that content going to be? What are you going to talk about?
Yeah.
What can you talk about
So
104 times a year about roof repair?
It's a great question, and there is something, and he segued right into number 2, which is reviews, reputation, and GMB changes are even more important. So reviews and reputation GMB changes or Google My Business, like, photos and people typing up, a review, putting the keywords into it. And we have software that we use called DataPins, DATAPINS, D as in data or data, the guy from Star Trek, right? So,
Fascinating.
yeah, I just watched the newer one with the new Captain Kirk. It's old, but I forgot the guy's name.
Oh,
It's pretty good.
Christopher Pine.
Yeah. Pretty good stuff. Anyway, so DataPins allows a plumber to take pictures of a job. The photos are unique content. If they haven't been on the web before, Google can tell it's all unique, up to 6 per job with a caption. And I'm going to give one. Just replaced an ice maker shutoff valve and supported it. So we had a client do one really close to that. Just installed an ice maker shutoff valve and supported it on the shutoff valve page, which we had made because it was a large metropolitan area like Fort Worth.
Right.
And he was getting shutoff valve jobs, right? And I don't know if a plumber's listening to that, but maybe the equivalent of a hose bib, but could also be the one out at the street and be a major job.
Right.
So he was already number 1 for shutoff valve replacement repair, and then in the city, and then he talks about ice maker. Google didn't know this. This was a long tail keyword. Almost no one ever speaks about this. It was a well-made website and that had changes regularly. And he talks about an ice maker. He goes number 1 on ice maker. This was September 28th, 2020. And then in January of 2021, he gets 2 more ice maker jobs, presumably because he had this other content. Now, this is great content that had a unique photo. It was just one of this flimsy little shutoff valve that he'd stuck a little piece of that, I don't know what it's called, this little strip of metal and screwed it to the wall. And he had supported it, and he had a photo of it, and he had written this caption, which got spidered, and he'd grabbed the geo coordinate with DataPins, which looks like a digital hand raise. I was here doing this. Please recognize. And then it resided on the shutoff valve page and made changes to a page that otherwise would have been static. That is fantastic content.
Right.
And then that software now tags those pictures and captions back up and does a Google post automatically. So, and it texts the client to give them a Google BBB Facebook review. And so then they're getting reviews. It's helping their reputation. It's changing the GMB. It's making
And those
quality
GMB
content.
changes, last few months, I've been looking more closely at GMB insights on clients. And you're seeing not just more people putting up posts and pictures on GMB, but you're seeing more views,
Right.
more customers, and not our customer, but our client's customer,
Or viewing.
are looking at the photos and looking at GMB posts. People are starting. That's becoming part of the purchase process.
That looks like my ice maker shut off valve.
Right.
Wow, look at that. These guys did the same thing I had a problem with. So Google's going to look at it and go, oh, what? You got a shut off valve page and this guy's looking for ice maker and you got pictures of it where you did it. This is crazy cool. And the reviews came back onto the page. That's nuts. And you posted it to the Google post and they came back there and looked at it too. Is that this guy's just all over it, man.
Right.
But you do this for not 104, but for 1,000 in a year.
However many jobs you do.
And it's all legitimate content. That blog stuff. So now you start to see it's like, okay, Nolan, Jason, I get it. So the blog, we really are trying to contrive it. Yeah,
it's contrived. It's mostly BS.
Even the one about the animals that can live the longest without water is still just someone trying to contrive something.
Yeah, to get attention.
To get something on that site that Google won't say, this is bull. So even when they try not to contrive it, they're contriving.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but now they're getting all sorts of weird details that they've never gotten before, like a Navian tankless water heater, if that's the right one, or this brand, or a 40-gallon expansion tank, or this type of whatever. All these weird things that can be talked about are literally content that they really don't have enough of, which is hard to say in 2022.
Yeah.
Now you have a way to give them content and regular changes and help your reputation all into one. Good enough for that one.
Yeah.
There's something new that's weird that's going on. Number 3, auto Google changed title tags. Is there a name for it?
Everybody's just calling it rewriting title tags.
Rewriting the title tag.
The title tag, which was something you didn't see a title tag on a page. The title tag was what you saw either on the Google search results page, or if you looked up in your tab or your address bar on your browser, the title tag would be there. But the title tag was very important for SEO. It declared what the page was supposed to be about.
Right.
And getting good keyword matching on title tags was actually vital for SEO for a long, long time.
It still is. I mean, it's still there.
But now all of a sudden Google is
30%.
Depending on who you ask, because we're getting different answers from different people at Google. They're either outright ignoring the title tag, or they're still looking at it, but they're no longer displaying it the same way. And what gets put into the search results page is not the title tag, but they will rewrite something based on content they see on the rest of the page. And if you don't provide good content on the rest of the page, it can be nonsense.
I didn't expect to segue that, but this all been beautiful together. Yeah. So supposedly they're only doing about 30% of these, but it's been, I hadn't talked to someone in a week, which is an eternity for some of our experts here. But it was 30%, but in some categories, even more if the title tags have changed. And you still want to do a great title tag, but they might take the H1 tag, which is the big block header at the top of a page, and then slap the company name after it.
Yeah.
Been pretty common. So they know where you are. All this stuff is still important, but they're auto-changing title tags.
Yeah. And we don't know how much impact on SEO it has yet, because like I said, we're getting different answers from
There's
Google.
Some cynical reasons in the industry as to why it's being done.
Well, you know my take.
I know. Let's not.
I'm not going to go over it.
Let's not.
But it is in some cases, because people would formulate title tags for conversion. If people saw the title tag in the search result, it would be telling them what they want to hear, and they'd click on that. And since Google is now not showing that specifically formulated title tag in the search result, people are seeing their click-through rate drop.
Well, if they have a good enough site, though, done well, it still should perform well. Yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of people out there that throw up cheap websites, never work on them. It's just one more reason for them not to show you.
I've seen weird examples where people didn't have an H1 tag, and what gets displayed as the title in search results, it's like word salad. It's garbage, because they're looking at the page and it's just like, there's no H1 tag, so we don't know what this is supposed to be about. And it'll be like all lowercase and won't make any sense.
It makes content that much more vital that get done well. I do want to make a point here before we go on. Organic is still the number one click thing. Vast
Absolutely.
majority of people click on a non-paid item on Google. It's your job to fight for it, regardless of what's going on. It's your job to listen to this stuff and fight for it. That's what we do here for people. Number 4, I don't want to stop. Title tags are just changing. We don't have any problem with them here, but if you're not going to use us for services, make sure it's a darn good H1. And I would not.
Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of negative impact because this is a good example I said before about changes coming along that we're actually already doing things right. We already did good H1, so it hasn't hurt
meaning our clients. Yeah. Our clients.
Our company, our clients.
Both. So number 4 is hyper algorithmic changes. So they're changing the algorithm daily. Core updates occur frequently, and SEO experts, organic experts, can no longer tell what the algorithm's doing to make the change so that they can then game the search engine. So I'm going to explain that one other way. Just that in the past, Google's had to worry about people slamming links in, doing some sort of branded manipulation, adding more content, doing other things to try to change up to get into the number 1 positions instead of legitimately being there.
Right.
Or having Google choose to who they want to be there. And which I would still argue is who legitimately should be there. At the end of the day, I don't agree with everything the algorithm does, but they do a pretty good job of legitimately getting in who should be there for the searcher. Remember, all this, our job and your job as a plumber is to put up the best page, the best Google My Business, the best reputation, and deserve to show up in ranking. And the algorithm over the course of time, whether you agree with everything they do or not, has done a pretty good job of that.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Gotten better at it. So our recommendation for you is to stay the course and do all the good things that you already know how to do. Don't stop doing good stuff. Quit trying to figure out the signaling and give them good signaling.
Right.
Yeah.
Give them good. Stop trying to tell them what they want to hear and just tell them what's accurate, what's real.
And do the best job you can. When you hear about something like data pins or something, implement good things and continue the good things that you had been doing. Whether it's a social media account or getting good reviews from clients or putting up captions and pictures with something like data pins or something different or, posting on your GMB, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right. So continue doing good things, continue having some links from good organizations doing quality work, and dump the junk probably, right?
Dump the junk.
Dump the junk.
I like that.
And so number 5 is kind of just a recap really of logic and consistency will win with this, right? So
tell people what you do, tell them where you do it. Make it very simple for your customer to figure out who you are, where you are, and how to reach you.
Yeah.
And provide both the customer and Google all the information they need to know that they should pick you.
Reviews, reputation related items, branded support, auxiliary support, Facebook, Instagram, other stuff.
Any channel you can use, basically.
Yeah. A few. You don't have to go crazy with it, but
when I say any effective channel.
Yeah, a few still though for me. They can't. Most of these guys won't do all of it, but you should have a Facebook or Instagram account. You should add a little content and make sure it's great content like we described. Make sure your site's tended to update things this year. 2021 saw speed as a big issue. So when things come up, change it. Make sure you're doing highest and best practices, SSL certificates, mobile friendliness, further mobile friendliness, and just all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just pretty logical. People think about it. You don't call up and try to put up trash website, never work on it, and cheat Google out of it. And it's going to do the same thing it did in 2021, not do too well. Right.
What does he used to say? It's not easy, but it's easy.
It's not easy, but it's easy.
It's a lot of work, but it's actually not difficult to figure out what to do.
It is for us at this point. It's gotten complicated.
No, what I mean is it's
I
not,
know what you mean.
You know, it's the kind of the mental gymnastics of this trick or that trick, or, you know.
They need to hire someone like us for part of it and still do some stuff on their own.
Right.
We had a client who verbally told us that they made well over $1 million and was going to cancel us because they wanted to go with a really expensive agency to do more stuff because they don't have time for anything. Not like
They started with us when they were just starting, basically.
Which was 12 months ago, Jason.
Yeah.
Which
No,
was
yeah,
12
we
months
got them there in a year.
They made over $1 million in 12 months flat. Because they got great content, got great changes, used data pins, and all the other great stuff that we do, the highest and best practices on high-end basic items and all the stuff that the great people here at the Webmasters do. And then, to do the best you can, stay the course. You don't have to do everything. You know, somebody like that already doing more, just because you go spend more. That's another good point too. I think sometimes, and I meant to say this on the last podcast too, people hear this and they're like, oh God, how do we do all that? You know, can we do that? So in most cases, we're less than $1,000 a month for all this, month to month, and $99 to start.
Yep.
For design, code, content, regular work, SEO, work on GMB, Google My Business, map ranking, organic ranking, data pins, great people here. It's a phenomenal deal.
Absolutely.
And then people participate a little bit, 2 minutes a job with a little pen, simple stuff, but powerful. And that guy got up to that and then wants to go overthink it, you know, lacks logic, about to kill the consistency.
Yeah.
The goose that helped him lay the golden egg.
What he said, the agency he was speaking to has a holistic approach.
What does that mean, Jason?
That's a long word for bullshit.
Yeah. What does that mean? Oh God, I had a guy just see. This is the fun part. I'm on my coach. I'm on. He didn't tell me not to do this stuff.
We recapped. We folled the format.
We haven't recapped yet.
Oh,
we haven't recapped yet. We're down a rabbit hole here.
I jumped the gun.
I had a guy call looking for leads yesterday. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, no one, I want leads. It's like, okay, well, we help you get leads. Well, this company says they'll do this, that, and the other. I'm like,
oh yeah, you told me about that one.
Are you trying to sell me their stuff by getting me to validate your insecurities? And he's like, well, I said, let me rephrase it. That's exactly what you're doing. And I said, you know, there's only a couple places you can get leads: Google organic, reputation, reviews, all stuff not paid on Google. Facebook, you're going to pay, or you're going to pay Home Advisor, Yelp, Angie's List, Thumbtack. And he's like, I didn't tell you this part. He's like, what were those again? I'm like, somebody shoot me. I'm like, what am I doing here? I should have called him out on that, but I just went ahead and repeated. What was that? Thumbtack. They do a little, they're not as big, but you can sometimes get a better deal. It's good, you know. Yeah. I was like,
it's scary that he's going into business and he doesn't even know that.
I didn't know what to say to him at that point. And I said, you should call me when you're done doing what you're going to do. But I want you to remember something. You can get up an organic ranking, and most people in my industry, unfortunately, are out to get you badly. And just don't do any black box billing. And I explained the difference between black box billing and transparent. And don't sign any long-term agreements, but your organic might take you a little time. 6 months is highly reasonable if you've got stuff rolling to where you can look over your shoulder until it works well. But he was going to buy 80 leads for $65, which sounds great. And this was a different category where the leads cost more. So this was a roofer. I don't care anymore. People, we do roofing too, but. It's an interesting story, so screw it. I want the plumber to understand that. So if somebody pay-per-clicked for a lead, if it was a pay-per-click, it'd cost hundreds for the phone call. If it was Google guaranteed, that would cost maybe $50 or something. It's still a good deal going up, but they can't get enough of them.
Right.
The agency that is going to sell them the $65 doesn't get a Google guaranteed account. They have to do organic or paid. to get the lead. There is no other place to get leads. When people talk about this stuff, it's so crazy. And he jumped at this deal at a $65 lead. But to me, it's not a $65 lead. It's a $5,200 lump sum of money to this company at one time.
And there's no way that a $65 roofing lead is an exclusive lead.
If it's real.
Yeah.
And I would argue that there's no way it's a good lead, because I know from a Google page perspective or Facebook leads aren't nearly as good a quality as a straight lead from like an organic deal.
Right.
Not even close. It's a joke. Most people run kicking and screaming. Not saying they can't make money on Facebook, but most people run kicking and screaming.
Right.
The leads are not specific. They didn't ask to see you. You showed up in their feed. And then the other type of lead that he could get if it was Google paid is Google Search Partner Network. He can't afford a straight, he being that agency, which can't afford a straight click Google Ads click.
Right.
They've got to go into the partner network. So they're going to get really cruddy leads and then distribute them to multiple people. If he's lucky and just doesn't have it siphoned somehow.
Yeah.
So he's going to go throw up his money. And then he's going to spend way more than it would have cost him with our feed to get to the point to where the organic would work. But he was so sure of himself and so sure he's going to do that. I said, you need to get these ideas out of your head. I said, it's not dumb that you're thinking this way and trying it. I understand. I'm not going to patronize you on your thought processes anymore because you're so far back from it that I don't have a basis to have a logical conversation with you.
I'm not going to patronize you, but you're completely illogical.
I wasn't going to go any further with it. And he said, no, what I would like to do it. I said, you're not going to right now, though. I can tell. And I said, I don't even think you have a business right now, do you? He said, well, no. I said, it remains to be seen whether you'll even start the business.
Yeah.
But he said, well, I need this. And I wish I'd have said one thing, not like kicking myself about it, because I said enough to make myself be able to live with myself. But, you know, it's like if somebody could go get 80 roofing leads and spend $5,000 and do monkey math on a piece of paper and get 10 jobs, and even if I just get 10 and make $40,000 to $50,000 on the profit, why didn't everybody just go do that? You know?
Yeah.
And I know from being in business for decades and decades that almost never happens. And it certainly doesn't happen with a guy from that level of knowledge from that standpoint.
Yeah. It
happens with a guy, but both these people either lacking logic or consistency. You know, the guy that did make the money.
It's the idea that they found some special deal nobody else knows about.
Yeah.
And it's like,
the guy that made $1 million partook in all these things that we just talked about.
Yeah.
Through us, and he participated with the 2-minute per job software and did over 1,000 pins.
Right.
And blew up. The second guy, just slap ass crazy.
I'm not going to patronize you, but you are slap ass crazy.
So I've been slap ass crazy plenty of times on plenty of topics. I'm not on this topic right now, but so I understand it takes time, and that's why I bowed out of the conversation and said, "Call me when you're ready."
That's the guy that might legitimately, and I've seen this happen many times before. He might call you a year from now.
Well, he said, Nolan, you're good. I said, I'm not trying to be good. I just can't communicate with you about it. I'm not trying to create any sort of urgency or, you know, what I like, or some sort of authority by turning you down. You're just not there yet. We can't have a conversation. You've got to go through these steps, go through your gauntlet and get beat down.
Get beat up a little bit, and then you'll understand.
And remember that I tell you that there's a way to do this properly. And there's nothing wrong with leads, but there's something wrong with the way you're looking at them.
Right.
But I don't want to go into all of it any more than I have. I did go over some of that. And I'm like, I was just trying to get off the phone at that point.
You're just way too stupid down.
I didn't say There's a difference between ignorance and stupidity.
Right.
Drew is highly ignorant. And he will get rid of that someday. If
one way or the other.
So, guys, anyway, you can do this stuff.
Recap.
You don't have to spend a ton of money. Yeah, we're going to recap. You can get there. Absolutely can get there. So quality content's important. It was number one. No fake blogs, good stuff. You can get good stuff through something like data pins or something similar, reputation management software, where you can post a little bit of stuff, reviews, some reviews on multiple platforms, your reputation, all this stuff more important. Maybe some post on Google. That's number two. Number three is your page content itself has become even more important, that it's structured well, because they may jack your title tag.
And they may use your page content
to make one.
To create a title tag for you, so it better make sense.
Automatically, not somebody looking at it. Just
this is an algorithm doing this, so be very clear.
Some sort of algorithm or AI or whatever, wherever it is in its process right now. So the H1, the header at the top, better be spot on. Just a little word of caution: don't slam your city or more content into that H1. Just make it a good quality H1. That's why they had problem with the title tags. People are slamming too much crud in there.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if you're in Dallas, don't put.
If you do that to the H1, a year from now, they're going to do the same thing to the H1s, or they're going to ignore them and go for something else.
They're going to penalize the content for keyword stuffing all your H1 tags and all your pages on your site. Is what they're going to do. So number 4, hyper changes in the algorithm. So what? Stay the course. It's okay. It just means that. I don't know if I'm going to call them. I don't have an ethical issue actually with businesses gaming the algorithm, but just be good and do the good things you know to do that you have been doing, and add a few new things like that we've just talked about.
The only argument really against gaming the algorithm is they'll probably figure it out and shut you down.
True.
That's not an ethical argument. That's a practical one.
So I was talking about that with J-Matt yesterday, and people that had gamed the algorithm, some people, we won't mention them, other agencies.
Right.
We stay in that mean that you're talking about. They lost first page for over a year now. Some of them are coming back now.
Whenever there's major changes like this and you start seeing spikes and valleys in your metrics and stuff, the people that freak out and start making radical changes, trying to figure out how to fix it,
They're the ones
it never works.
Not usually. There's a couple of outliers.
Okay, every once in a while, but it hardly ever works. It's better to just keep doing good things and doing what you're doing, provided you're doing good things.
Which leads into number 5, which is be logical and be consistent to win. Consistently do good things. And the logic part of it, I didn't explain that well, but we gave some examples. And once you're skilled enough to know, like the one guy we talked about, maybe he didn't deserve all the stuff I said about him, but because he was just ignorant, he didn't have the ability to be logical, right? But the other guy has the ability to be logical.
Has been logical for a year and has now chosen to stop.
Right.
Possibly.
I always say, if the cake tastes good, don't change the ingredients. You don't know which one is the sugar or the eggs,
Yeah.
So some things, just keep doing good things. Be logical about your approach too. And if you're doing good stuff and trying to do a good job, and fight a little harder for what you want. If you want your dreams to come true, I think you'll be fine.
Agreed.
So we told what we were going to do. Then we said it. And then we
did some bullshit.
Then we recapped. I liked it a little better than the one before. I like some of the bull.
It's fun.
I'm not going to say the S word, though. I will maybe another time. But
we ain't on TV
I'm
here.
clean myself up. All right, guys. We'll see.
Take it easy.